All praise to the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Shah. Yahweh being who people call God, Yahweh Shah being the Son, who people call Jesus. Double honors to the apostles over the Great Millstone Church, as well as the elders. Bishop salutations to the rest of the elders, and Akim on down, other branches. Also hold forth the true word of life, all right? And all true faith, sincerity. So getting into this, this is going to be a message about not being you got to be okay with beefing, all right? Like as they call it in the world, having beef, things like that. And in its truth, it'll be known as being set for the defense of the gospel, and not suffering sin. And this is going to be pretty much the message of this edition of, Post Highways Dialogue. In this particular Highways, I'm doing this on from 7/25, July 25th, 2025. And yeah, man. So just again, be okay with you gotta be okay with beefing. Let somebody know they going off, in the doctrine, not going along to get along, you got dudes out here that's trying to play both sides, and you can't do that. And you, according to the scriptures, and you knowing that according to the scriptures, and them possibly too, but them not really taking heed to that. But you more so doing that, you gotta hold that standard up, man. All right? It's only one truth. It's only one spirit. And when you truly believe that, you will show that. So we not gonna play games. All right? So we can go ahead and get to some scriptures. It is one that just hit me. Let me see if it comes back to me. We gonna get Jeremiah 48:10. We gonna get Titus 2:10, I believe it is. And it's one that popped in my head. Let me see. Let's kick it off here. All right. This is Titus 2, and I'm gonna jump to the point. It says, let's start at 6. Young men likewise exhort to be sober-minded. See, to be sober-minded. All right. And when you're sober-minded, you're not all under the influence of anything outside of the scriptures. All right? You are full of the Spirit. All right? The scriptures talk about that. And that allows you to stay clear-minded, and not be PC and things like that. To be being PC, to be under all under the influence of what people say or think of you, or people's feelings or whatnot might not be widely accepted or of popular consensus. You being drunk, you're not being sober-minded. So since I keep going towards that, let's just make that a little clear in Ephesians 5. I'm going to start at 17. Wherefore be ye not unwise, because that's not a wise thing. That's not wise to do. That's not a wise disposition to have. All right? Because now it keeps you from being clear-minded and all over the place, and that's what you see individuals do. And then if you start being like that, well, you be long-suffering, but you don't suffer sin. All right? Scriptures tell you to to preach the word in season, out of season, And we get the rest. Yeah, and rebuke. See that? Reprove. Rebuke with all long suffering and doctrine, but we'll come back to that. All right. So anyway, it says, so wherefore be ye, and someone that's not moving according to that don't want to do that, they're drunk. They're full of this, they're under the influences of other things, and they're not being clear-minded, and they're going off. All right. It says what? Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is, and be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled, see, with the Spirit. There you go. See, and be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess. And now you all over the place getting into a bunch of stuff, doing what they say, doing too much, you know? So there you go. So going back to this Titus 2 and 6, so young men likewise exhort to be sober-minded, you know? So you ain't all in the consideration of people's feelings, and in your feelings to where you all in consideration of people's feelings, to where now you're not minding the scriptures, you know? To now you're not stoic as you ought to be, to where you'll be able to withstand the seducing spirits that's out here and rebuke them, you know, and rebuke those that's giving heed to them. You know, those seducing spirits that were said to be in these end times, that people are gonna give heed to, because why? They're not being sober-minded. You know, they're not being how they need to be. All right. And since I say that, let's go to 1 Timothy 4 and 1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, meaning clearly, plainly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits. See that? And when you're dealing with seducing, let's get that word, seducing. Seducing.
Seduce.
Entice someone. See, it says in the sexual activity, but nonetheless, it says to charm, right? And that's spiritual, because they're going to the spiritual fornication the Lord is talking about. So now you all mingle with other doctrines and things like that. All right, you going off. You're leaving your husband. You know what I'm saying? You hint you out of the faith. All right? So it says, and it says to charm, the synonyms is to charm, captivate, allure, lure, tempt, entice, all right, to take advantage of. And ultimately it says ruin, lead astray. And how does that happen? By them playing off the flesh, you know, or feelings. You see that? That's how that happens. It says attract someone to a belief, see that, or into a course of action that is inadvisable or foolhardy. Let's get that word, foolhardy.
Foolhardy.
Reckless, bold, or rash. Unwise, thoughtless, heedless, irresponsible, you know? Imprudent, so you all over the place. All right? And it says in the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, an examples of foolhardy and an adjective that describes exposing oneself to danger. See, exposing oneself to danger more than required by good sense, right? Because the danger you're supposed to expose yourself to, that's of good sense, is the beef, rebuking somebody. You basically becoming the enemy, being okay with becoming someone's enemy because you tell them the truth. You see that? You willing to put your stance, you know, on what you're supposed to stand on according to the scriptures out there. You know, make yourself vulnerable for that, and and when you need to, and with no regards, if you will, for what come with that. You know, period. If it comes down to you having to lose a arm, someone so-called close to you, could be your mother, father, brother, sister, friend, you know, someone that's just been, you know, whatever, man. Somebody you did the work with, somebody you thought was doing the work, somebody you was teaching, somebody that was coming around learning, all these different things, man. You know, it could be kings and it will be, and governors. For the Lord's name's sake, AKA for truth's sake. So that's what it's gonna have to be if you about that. All right. So yeah, foolhardy, man. So that's a synonym of seduce. All right. And that's what's going on. So again, seduce means to attract someone to a belief or into a course of action that is inadvisable or foolhardy. All right. So, and that's gonna be off these mugs, playing off mugs, flesh, feelings. You know, it's a itching ears. So basically, the flesh. All right. This is 2 Peter 2:22. It says, let's start at 18. It says, matter of fact, let's start at 17. These are wells. Matter of fact, let's start at, this is all good. Yeah, this is verse 10. But chiefly them, right? That matter of fact, start at 9. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, right? And to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness. See that? But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of in the lust of uncleanness. So lusting for things that are unclean, that will defile you. You know what I'm saying? That will take you out of, you know, the right way, out of that pure state. All right. Hence, that's what itching ears. You know, someone telling you something you want to hear. Somebody will come with things that most people want to hear, you know, and may even be lawful, certain things, but not expedient. You know, that's unclean, if you will. It's gonna throw you off. You know, it's gonna take you out the way. All right. But more so talking about things that's just outright off. You know, like hence playing, like people wanna, well, I wanna know more, I wanna learn, you know? And you get played, and which is a righteous thing, but that can be played off of for wickedness. So learning could become wicked. You see that? Anything good can become bad for you, you know? So again, that's who you gonna get destroyed. These people who can't see this, but I ain't gonna be all deep with it. But it says, but chiefly them that walk after the flesh and the lust of uncleanness and despise government. See that? That's who's gonna get destroyed. Those that's caught up in their feelings, and making it about that, and they outside the scriptures and want to be outside what those that hold to the scriptures tell them. The men of the Lord tell them. Presumptuous are they. What does it mean to be presumptuous? Let's get this word presumptuous. All right. Presumptuous. It means what? I'm sorry. 1 second. Presumptuous.
Presumptuous.
Of a person or their behavior, failing to observe the limits of what is permitted or appropriate. Yeah, they go too far. They get to doing too much. You see that? All over the place, man. Reckless. Again, going back to being foolhardy. See that? Are they self-willed? See? They make it about themselves. It says they are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. And before you know it, they scoffing at the scriptures. So that's why it is a certain thought process or doctrine that could lead you into that. Anything outside of these scriptures can lead you to being outside these scriptures. Obviously. That's what you got to realize, but most don't. But that's what we hold to, If you didn't got a chance to experience that and live to tell the story, hey, you don't make the same mistake twice. All right, it says, whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not real accusation against them before the Lord, but these as natural brute beasts made to be taken and destroyed speak evil of things they understand not and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, getting to the point, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness as they count it pleasure and to ride in the daytime. Spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. Yeah. So spots supposed to be cleaned up. They're supposed to be acknowledged first and foremost, accepted for what they are to where they can be cleaned up, And once they are seen as a spot, deemed as a spot, recognized as a spot, you get rid of spots. All right. And these same spots be around. They be in the truth. They'll come around. They come on the comment boards, so forth and so on. They picking up Bibles. They might come across your way. You know what I'm saying? And say something off. But try to, also say they believe, or hold to the rest of what makes sense and think they make it sense. Nah, gotta correct that. Gotta get that spot off. Like the rest of the garment, spotless and clean, but you gotta get that spot off, or it's gonna throw everything off. You see that? And that's why you wanna get rid of people and be okay with getting rid of people, Ultimately, if you have to, that will be like a spot amongst, the rest of the shirt it may be on, a spotted part. You want to get rid of the spotted part that's attached or amongst the rest of the shirt, because it's gonna throw everything off. All right. And that could be done by addressing it, rebuking it, correcting it to where it's cleaned up, as much as you can. But you want to take heed because you see, if you can't get that stain out, hey, it's going to affect the appearance of that whole shirt moving forward. That's how serious this is. So you don't want to be affected by it and looking like you a part of that. Got you looking crazy? Nah. It's an all white garment. There ain't supposed to be no stain on here, if you will. It says, whatever, man. Oh, goddamn, it's crazy. Anyway, it says, speak evil things they understand not, and shall perish, utterly perish in their own corruption. It says, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness as they counted pleasure in the riot. My bad. Having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin. Beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetous practices. Cursed children, which have forsaken the right way, and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Bosor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. All right. It says, but was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumbass speaking with man's voice, forbade the madness of the prophet. See, forbade the madness of the prophet. You know, crazy. A damn some under him, to him could tell him he was clearly off. You know, what you would think he would be able to see, but they not. Most can't see it, so you got to be okay with telling them. All right. If a donkey wouldn't suffer it, you know, and it's something so obviously apparent to where a donkey will rebuke it, why would you? Why would you suffer it? You see that? It says, these are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest. See that? These are wells without water. It's talking about individuals. You know, those that don't really got the spirit. It says clouds that are carried with a tempest. They are all over the place. Right? They're of a storm. They're not here to water and help grow. They could help destroy, lead to destruction. Because that's what tempests go into. It goes into a storm. It says, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure, see, through the lust of the flesh. As I was saying, through much wantonness, those that were clean escape from them who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption, of whom a man is overcome, of the same as he brought into bondage. All right. So the point is, this is how these seducing spirits is going to work. They're going to speak with great swelling words of vanity. They're going to allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean escape from them who live in error. All right. And these individuals are going to succumb to this, not just because of the flesh, but because they're not holding to, because ultimately, or I should say, which is going to be able to work because they in their flesh, they in they feelings. They not in the spirit. So they drunk. This is 1 Timothy 4:1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. The only way that's going to be able to be is through the flesh. If they're in their spirit, if they're in they so-called in their feelings, they being PC, right? Having those itching ears, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. So these ones is all over the place. Let me see if I can get that real quick. Matter of fact, let's go ahead, because I don't want to go too far. Titus, that's what I have first. Yeah, 2 and 8. Yup. But I want to grab this though. So this is another one. This is or matter of fact, yeah, exactly. So with knowing all this is gonna go on and understanding basically the road that leads to these things simply, you pretty much got the understanding to where you can be okay. You can further be okay. Like, man, I already know you doing this is gonna lead to this, you know, and it's that plain. Cause we done seen it happen. We seeing it happen. Our elders done told us about this, the apostles, and it's just that simple, man. So with that being the case, this is 2 Timothy 4:1. I charge thee before Yahweh and the Lord Yahweh Shah Hamashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing in his kingdom. See that? And you want to be, as the quick, you don't want to be as the dead, because that's not just talking about those walking around alive, but those in the graves, talking about those that got the true understanding versus those that don't. Preach the word, and he will be dealt with accordingly. He said he will give every man according to his work. So you don't be judge somebody that don't got the truth. He's coming to destroy those that don't know Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. You either know him or you don't. You can't somewhat know him. It says, so preach the word, right? Nor be lying on them. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine, right? So you not only put up with somebody as long as you need to rebuke somebody as long as you need to, as long as you're supposed to. And you do it with doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust. I could have jumped straight to this one. They shall heap to themselves itching ears, heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, And that's how some dudes get into other books, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables, made up things. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, and make full proof thy ministry. So that we know I'll be telling you this. I know I'm on it like this. Hey, you're going to get rebuked. We okay with making enemies. All right. For truth. So coming back here, closing this out, Titus 2 and 6. So young men likewise exhort to be sober minded, knowing the nature of what's going on, man. It's a lot of stuff that's going to try to speak to your ears, speak to things you ain't heard, speak to your feelings. A lot of influence to be PC, and not sound so harsh and graphic, to where, it's going to lead people to buy into that, and they're going to be drunk, But if you do the opposite, it leads you to life and keep you away from all those things. So we're exhorting and strengthening you to be like that. Be austere and all that things, showing thyself a pattern of good works, and doctrine, shewing up corruption, uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity. See that? Sound speech that cannot be condemned. You ain't saying nothing wrong, and you got the proof. Like, they always in their right mind, moving forward. So forth and so on. This is how you want to be. And this is why this is how you're going to be okay with doing it. As long as you're doing that, it's to make sure mug get it and don't get destroyed. And sometimes you got to become their enemies for a time so that don't happen, Mug got to be mad at you. Like the scripture say, let a righteous man smite me, and it shall be a kindness. So, brother, man, husband, whatever, a true believer, wife, sister, they could, Heavenly Father, they could, have something said to you or whatever. They may feel like, they slapped you or something, damn near, but it's for the right reasons, it's kindness. First, Psalms 1, it's like when Moses was getting stoned and put to death, those that was doing it in righteousness, it was because you can't be walking around doing this. You disgraced yourself. You disgracing our people. This is not to be accepted of you. So let the righteous smite me. It shall be a kindness, and let him reprove me. It shall be an excellent oil. See that? Which shall not break my head. Yet, see that? For yet my prayer also shall be in their calamities. All right. So reading on, it says, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the contrary part, right, saying something opposite to what's sound and what's going to keep them all on point, and on the path and on their way to finishing, and finishing if they endure, hey, that's that. But you might have somebody in contrary against that, say something contrary to those things, may be ashamed or believing in something contrary to those things, hey, may be ashamed. So you bring forth things in a way to where they can't be condemned. It's solid, you know? Getting into all this other stuff, you can't, versus what's only needed, who can condemn that? He that is of the contrary part, those trying to do the most, get into all this other stuff, these other books, may be ashamed, having no evil thing to say of you. You got dudes talking about I want to really talk to the people. You know, a brother was a Muslim, I want to really talk to the people. Like, you basically ashamed at the ministry that the Lord, the simple little sanctuary the Lord set up. This ain't enough for them. They got to do the fake ass podcast and do all this weird shit. Come off like a car salesman, you know? You got to do all that, man. You see that? You don't need no building. It says that he that is of the contrary part, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the contrary part may be ashamed, having no evil thing to say of you. All right? So yeah, that's basically it. And it says, exhort servants to be obedient unto their own masters. The master, main master, the master being Yahweh Shai. Because master just means teachers, you know? So you adhere to, you teach what was taught. Continue the things thou hast learned. You obey what Yahweh Shai said. You don't come trying to remix the shit, do all this extra stuff, and add unto, any of these things. All right? We know what Yahweh Shai taught of. He ain't teach out of these other books. You know what I'm saying? He didn't. All this excess stuff is not needed. Do some more new covenant and all this, you know? The Lord said the word new covenant. The only time he ever even mentioned that was before his crucifixion, man. The Passover. You know, saying that it was going to be basically ratified by his blood, you know? One step closer. It makes no sense to be telling people they in something that is because they're in the truth, they're in, or not. It don't make no sense, because if you fall out the truth, are you still in it? If you become a nigga, are you still in it? It just don't make sense. It's not sound. All right? So he established it, but it's that simple. So mother's gotta let these things go. Can't be sitting here trying to, still talk about Esau, talk about all these other things, but yeah, you still believe in dang, we in the new covenant, or god dang, these other books. We ain't fucking with you. You know what I'm saying? The Lord not rocking with that, man. All right? Anyway, so it says, exhort servants to be obedient unto their own masters. You just stick with how Yahweh went about it and how this thing, is been laid out by the men he sent, who's still enduring. The top men, the true men. See that? And to please them well in all things, not answering again. Yeah, well, I don't like that. You want to buck up, want to talk back. That's what it means by not answering again. Not purloining, but showing all good fidelity, just keeping it simple, the faith and works. It says that they may adorn the doctrine of our Savior in all things. So this is dealing with you, that's put in a situation to exhort these people to stay, sober-minded. These believers out here, whether they young physically or old physically or middle age, don't matter. Whatever you want to call it. All right? Now you get that word purloin.
Purloin.
It deals with stealing. All right? So there you go. Misappropriate. All right? Misappropriate means what?
Misappropriate.
Of a person dishonestly or unfairly take something, especially money, belonging to another for one's own use. See that? Yeah. So you don't want to be out here, how can I say this? like basically you could say like making merchandise of the truth and playing off mud's ignorance and innocence, you know, this ministry, the ministry, so forth and so on, because it says in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, misappropriate means to appropriate wrongly, especially to take dishonestly for one's own use. Yeah, you don't want to counsel for your own purpose. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to, you know, tell somebody something because it best suits you. You know, stealing the Lord's flock. You don't want that. You want to give them all right with what they need to hear. And it's always right. It ain't so you can look a certain way, none of that, you know. You're not trying to steal the hearts of the people. Misappropriate means this the freedictionary.com, wrongly or dishonestly as funds, to appropriate wrongly or dishonestly as funds entrusted to one's care. All right, so you don't be out here using, you know, misusing this understanding, this knowledge, the doctrine with people. Because then, you know, it won't be able to be adorned, the doctrine, you know, that they may adorn the doctrine of Yahweh Basham Yahshua. You're going to make it look bad. You want other people to come and make what's simply the truth to look good and make it look good as well. All right, for the grace of Yahweh Basham Yahshua that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men. So it's about the doctrine that's going to bring salvation, and we teaching this and own this because it's all about salvation. Okay, so that's pretty much it on that. I think I finished this. Yup, and then I'm gonna go back to yeah, that's basically it. So you got to be okay with them rebuking these people, man. All right, you got to be okay with making enemies because it's gonna come. All right. Yeah. So wrapping this up, this is Titus 3 and 10. It says, "This faithful saying 2 and 8. I mean 3 and 8. This is a faithful saying, and these things I will that thou affirm constantly, that they which have believed in Yahweh Basham Yahshua might be careful to maintain good works." Exactly. Keeping this thing simply for what it is and not trying to do the most, you know, not changing the doctrine up and adding all this extra stuff, nor taking away from it. All right. As you change one part, it changes everything. All right. It's not the same anymore. It says, "These things are good and profitable unto men." All right. So that's what you want to affirm constantly. All right. It says, "But avoid foolish questions and genealogies and contentions and strivings about the law, for they are unprofitable and vain." All right. "A man that is a heretic after the first and second admonition reject, knowing that he that is such is subverted and sinned, being condemned of himself." Yeah, he can't get right. Though this is being brought to him, or they not gonna get right. All right. So we ain't out here arguing with Muslims, but we gonna tell them because salvation is on the line. It's that simple. This is Titus 1 and 9. Holding fast. See that? Holding fast. I'm gonna actually start at 8. But a lover. It says, "But a lover of hospitality," right? "A lover of good men, sober, just, holy, temperate." Yeah, not no PC mugs trying to tell mugs what they want to hear and go along, get along gang. Like, you know, no, the stoic, austere men, you know, that's saying what it is and they actions backing up, they believe that, right? "Holding fast the faithful word as he hath been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayers." That's what it's all about. We set for what? The defense of the gospel. All right. "For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers." See that? "Especially they of the circumcision." So you got to be, so whose mouths must be stopped. See that? subvert whole houses. People that completely in the truth, completely, out of the crap, completely got the knowledge they need. You got Jakes, squirming around, whether they old, whether they young, whether they damn been in for whatever, they're in the camp, camp leader, they're damn whoever them, a fallout, kick out, whatever. Who's could be a man or not in the sense of a camp, as far as, because I was gonna say it could be a man or a woman, but not a woman if in regards to the mention of the camps, but just in general, old man, old woman, young man, whatever, out here down running their mouth, and they supposedly know they're Israelite. Add something off, say something that's off. Got a lot of what's truth, and it's that one part, or just going off completely. They mouths got to be stopped because they're subverting whole houses, and it's all about getting onto the sheep of the slaughter. Zechariah 11. We supposed to know who plucks off our people's skins and by what. Going into Micah 3. We supposed to know judgment. We supposed to know the way when we see that to handle those things, to handle that matter, that occasion, those individuals doing that, is to be by what? Rebuking, reproving, with all long suffering, as much as we need to, for salvation's sake, for truth's sake. Which truth be told, for salvation's sake, for the salvation of the elect. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all about the elect starting off, right? Most Jake's not gonna get it. That's why there's so many out here running their mouth. So once you hear the thing that Jake needs to hear, and that's clearly gonna get Jake out of here, the elect that is, you gotta defend that, man. All right? You gotta stop their mouth by what? Rebuking them, reproving them. Because if not, you watching it's like, letting a wolf roam and head, and you ain't warning nobody, and everybody sheep. Like, that's crazy. Can't do that, man. And it ain't actual wolves. It's motherfuckers that's supposed to be sheep acting like wolves. Lord not playing about his flock, man. And you don't want to, be dealt with for doing that. So we tell these individuals. So anyway, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake. One of themselves, even a prophet of their own, said the Cretans are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies. And that's how it is, man. They know they going off. They waiting to see if you gonna rebuke them. They know they ain't right. This witness is true. Wherefore, because this was going on back then. They said it was a group of people doing this back then, and one that was amongst them was even saying that these men are liars, evil, slow. They always on some crap. We do be bothering people. You can't suffer that. That's suffering sin. It says, so this witness is true. So, it says, wherefore rebuke them sharply. See, wherefore rebuke them sharply. This is how you stop them, with the sword, that they may be sound in the faith. Not giving heed to seducing Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. We ain't hearing all that, man. It's that simple. Unto the pure, all things are pure, but unto them that are defiled and unbelieving is nothing pure. These are men that have problems with these things, and they want to alter the truth. They want to add unto it. We're not doing that. We're not allowing that. But even their mind and conscience is defiled. All right? So, that's it. So you got it, and it says, so you got to be willing to do this. And you're going to do this a lot because it says there's many mouths that must be stopped. Okay? So, let me get this last scripture. Galatians 4:16. Am I therefore become your enemy? See that? Because I tell you the truth. You know? So there you go. You gotta, when you tell people the truth, certain people the truth, you gonna make enemies. Cause you got a lot of people that's out here fighting for lies on the comment board, running their mouth for lies, believing lies. You gotta understand that. This is Jeremiah 9. I'm gonna get the last one in Jeremiah, but it's Jeremiah 9 and 3. And they bend their toe and they bend their tongues like their bow for lies. See that? But they are not valiant for the truth upon the earth, for they proceed from evil to evil, and they know not me. Saith Yahweh Shemi Shah. Take ye heed of every brother, every one of his neighbor, and trust ye not in any brother, for every brother will utterly supplant, and every neighbor will walk with slanders. And they will deceive everyone his neighbor, and will not speak the truth. They have taught their tongue to speak lies, and weary themselves to commit iniquity. Exactly, man. Trying to get somebody else to believe that, and they trying to carry on thinking they can carry on believing some of the truth or a good portion of it and then believe in lies. Nah, we not rocking with that. You got dudes coming on the comment board. You gotta make your stance known clear, man. You know what I'm saying? Cause it's gonna be mentioned every time. Like, we not with that new covenant, we in the new covenant shit, and we not with that damn what's that? Them damn other books. You dudes that's reading them, stop bringing y'all ass on these on my comment board. We don't fuck with y'all if y'all on that. Repent, make it be clear, let it be known you repented. I mean, it could be seen in your ways, but it'd be better just to confess. You know what I'm saying? It'd be easier. That way we can keep the peace. Okay, so anyway, this is Jeremiah 48 and 10. If you have, this don't pertain to you. This is Jeremiah 48:10. Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. Exactly. So this is why you want to do this, not only because salvation is on the line and the Lord want his flock to be saved and kept from the people that's trying to keep them from the way, they're trying to alter their maps to salvation that's been given them, but also because if you don't do that, the Lord gonna get you, because it says, cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, Yahweh Shemi Shah deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. All right, you gonna be goddamn cursed. So you can't be damn, being PC and scared to make enemies with this and tell them, man, if you don't want them damn curses, the word right here is arara, So yeah, cursed. All right, Lord's gonna hate you. He gonna mess you up, man. You don't want that. So I'm gonna say, call on like how about Shemi Al-Shah or how Kakadash. Lord willing, you got some out of this. Just be okay with it, whoever it is. Again, an instant, in season, out of season. You know what I'm saying? When you need to, how you need to. And with all long suffering, as much as you need to. Keep doing this. And guess what? As long as you need to, it's always until the end, till it's over. He that endure everything they supposed to endure, hey, that's who will be saved. And we supposed to endure all things for the elect's sake. We can't let this get altered for the elect's sake. All right, double honors to the apostles and the elders, the elder bishops, and the rest of the Akim. To Yah, Shalom.